Good day, everyone. We are the Group 4 and the last reporter in ethics. Before anything else, I would like to introduce myself. I am Kimberly Aubrey Tiroa, and I am here with Miss Mayville Tan, Topos Jonalyn, Valenzuela Amelia, Vanzuela Jenelyn, and Iparagire Disichol. And we are going to tackle about the Cartesian ethics, Rene Descartes, his Cogito, the three Cartesian metaphysico epistemological problematics and their impact on the ethics of the mind and human freedom. We're also going to tackle about its subtopics, which include the historical contextualities of Descartes' search for certainty, stages and processes of Descartes' methodic skepticism, Cogito ergo sum, the centerpiece of Cartesian epistemological certainty, the three Cartesian metaphysico epistemological problematics, mind and body problem, dualism and non-dualism, interactionism versus non-interactionism, and the Cartesianism and its relation to the ethics of human freedom. Introduction. Rene Descartes' philosophy is anchored in the Cogito. I think, therefore I am, asserting the certainty of the self as a rational being. This lays the groundwork for ethics, emphasizing the morality should be founded on reason rather than tradition or blind faith. Descartes presents three key problems. Radical doubt, which highlights the necessity for clear reasoning in ethics, mind-body dualism, linking human freedom to the mastery of bodily passions through reason, and the problem of God and truth, establishing that morality relies on aligning human freedom with divine truth. Descartes' ethical framework promotes intellectual clarity, rational self-control, and the pursuit of truth, portraying true freedom as a rational choice of good in accordance with God's order. So, accordingly, Rene Descartes is a famous philosopher who lived in the 17th century. No? His philosophy was centered on his Cogito, which states that I think, therefore I am. So think of it like this. No? Even if you are thinking, I don't know if I exist, or I'm not sure about myself, the fact that you are having those thoughts proves that you do exist as a thinking being. So it's a statement about the existence of the self, not about the content of your thoughts. So it's more like I'm thinking, therefore I must exist, rather than what I think about myself is what I am. So that's what his cogito means. No? So Descartes also presents three main problems. No? The first is the radical doubt. It is Descartes' way of questioning everything, including tradition and authority. So, tradition, no? Ngano kaha, diba, have you ever wondered or realized na why we are following certain traditions or customs, no? Tungod ba kay like naandan or ginasunod sa kadaghanan? Diba panyag sa magdawta like, umay purpose or nan ini or umay significance ini sa ato kinabuhi. And in that sense, mas okay kung magdoubt kita kaysa musunod ra laman without even thinking or questioning, no, about why. And Descartes also questioned the authority or these people na magpa-implement ng mga batas or rules, regulations for example. And it doesn't always mean na sakto sila permit kay what if ato ng mga regulations or mga rules kay outdated now or it's not applicable to our situation right now. That's how Descartes influenced us, no, to or encourage us to ask, to think, and to be curious, because that's how we learn and that's where and how learnings begin. And the second problem is the mind-body dualism. So Descartes believed that body and mind are the two separate entities, which was actually true. So, and mind daw is the rational part and the body is the physical part. Ang ato freedom daw is magbase sa kung unho nato pag-control ang ato desires and emotions through thinking or through our reasons. And lastly is the problem of God and the truth. Descartes believed that joy relationship and God and truth No, so he believed na God is the ultimate source of truth and our morality is dapat naka-align sa ato freedom base sa divine truth. And that's the three key problems Descartes had considered. So next slide please. Let's move on to the historical contextualities of Descartes' search for certainty. Rene Descartes, 1596 to 1650, often called the father of modern philosophy, lived during a period of immense intellectual, cultural, and scientific transformation in Europe. His famous search for certainty, culminating in the Cogito, I think, therefore I am, did not arise in isolation but was shaped by historical forces such as the scientific revolution, religious upheavals, and the collapse of medieval scholastic philosophy. To understand Descartes' project, we must situate it within its historical and cultural context. So, Descartes has this famous statement, no? I think, therefore I am. And it wasn't created in a vacuum. So, in other words, Descartes was responding to the changes and to the challenges happening in his world and his environment, and his idea reflects the debates, discoveries, and the uncertainties during his era. So I already discussed what cogito means, and we're going to tackle about the 5 historical contextualities of Descartes' search for certainty later after this. So next slide, please. So the first is the decline of scholasticism. The decline of scholasticism outlines the transition from medieval philosophy, which emphasized scholastic Aristotelianism and sought to reconcile faith with reason, to more critical stance by the 17th century. By this time, scholastic methods faced criticism for being too rigid and dogmatic in light of emerging scientific discoveries. Descartes emerged as a key figure, advocating for knowledge based on reason and certainty instead of traditional authority. So let's first define what is scholasticism. So when we say scholasticism, it is a way of thinking that dominated during the Middle Ages or during this era. So it is characterized by a strong emphasis on tradition, authority, and the study of ancient texts, particularly, or for example, the Aristotle's works. So scholastic people believed that knowledge could be acquired through the study of these texts and the application of reason to understand the world. However, over time, scholasticism became increasingly rigid and dogmatic, with scholars who are more focused on interpreting ancient texts than on observing the natural world. So just try to imagine you are in a classroom and the teacher was just reading a book without explaining the topic clearly, comprehensively, and appropriately. So that's kind of what was happening in the scholasticism. People were just relying too much on old books and not enough on their own thinking and observations. So, in the contrary, or in the opposite note, Descartes, sa opposite ng belief ni Descartes, he wanted to find out what was true and what wasn't. And he didn't just want to believe things because someone else said so. So, in simple words, before we believe that something is true, we first need to think of its reliability. We need to ask questions and try to test them before concluding that something is true. So that's how Descartes' thinking influenced people during their era and people until today. And in that sense, the decline of scholasticism happened. So the second one is the rise of the scientific revolution. Descartes, a key figure at the onset of modern science, aimed to establish a philosophical framework based on clear and indubitable truths, akin to mathematics. He pioneered methodic doubt to apply mathematical rigor across all knowledge domains, challenging the Aristotelian perspective and promoting mechanistic view of nature in line with contemporaries like Galileo, Kepler, and Newton. So, this is a big phrase. That means a big change in the way people thought about science. So, Descartes was one of the people or one of the proponent of this change who helped start um, to make a change during his era. So, he find a way to know things for sure or to be certain about something without just believing what other people said. So, in that sense, or because of that, he used a method called the methodic doubt, which means he questioned everything he could to see if he could find anything that was absolutely true. So, for example, instead of just accepting Aristotle's views on the natural world, scientists like Descartes and Galileo started conducting experiments and gathering data to support their theories. This led to major breakthroughs in fields like physics and astronomy. So during this era daw, sa emergence ng scientific discoveries and evolution, people would not believe na your hypothesis or your theory kay tinuod without conducting experiments or tests. Kaya since ang mga tao during this time are knowledgeable enough to question things before believing. So that's what happened during the rise of scientific revolution. So that's all. I'm done with my part. No? Thank you.
Good day everyone. I am Mabel Talan. I'm the second reporter, and I will report the religious and political upheaval. The Reformation and Counter-Reformation lead to significant division in Europe, challenging existing religious authorities. The 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, a violent conflict driven by religious and political tensions, simplified the societal upheaval of the era. In response to this uncertainty, Descartes saw as secure foundation for knowledge, aiming to provide stability amidst doubt. Bali, ini religious and political upheaval kay sa madaling salita pa, ang relihiyosong kaguluhan ay karaniwang nagsisimula sa pagkakaiba ng paniniwala o doktrina. Og ang kuanang ang political upheaval ay nakaugat sa kapangyarihan, pamamahala at karapatan ng mamamayan. Number 4, skepticism and the problem of knowledge. Renaissance is skepticism shaped by figures such as Montaigne challenged the possibility of attaining truth, knowledge. The revival of ancient skepticism, particularly Pyrrhonism, raised concerns regarding the dependability of sensory perceptions and human reasoning. Descartes directly addressed skepticism by employing radical doubt to eliminate false belief, ultimately achieving the certainty of the Cogito. So, kibali ang skepticism ay ang ugali ng pagdududa at pagsusuri sa katotohanan, habang ang problem of knowledge ay ang mga palaisipan kung paano natin matitiyak kung ano ang tunay na kaalaman. Next, humanicism and the turn to the subject. Renaissance humanicism focused on individuality, highlighting personal dignity and autonomy. Descartes exemplified this by establishing knowledge through the thinking self rather than relying on external authorities, leading to the emergence of modern subjectivity, which positions the individual mind as the cornerstone of philosophy. Kibali, ang humanicism ay nakatuon sa kakayahan, dignidad at kahalagahan ng tao sa lipunan at kultura. Then, ang turn to the subject naman ay nakatuon sa individual na isip, karanasan at kamalayan bilang batayan ng kaalaman at katotohanan. Ibali, ang example ng turn to the subject kay ini kang Rene Descartes, Cogito ergo sum. Sa Tagalog, nag-iisip ako sa makatwid ay ako ay umiiral. Itinuturo niya na ang tiyak na pundasyon ng kaalaman ay ang sariling pag-iisip. Yun lamang po, thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Tupos Junalen and now we're going to talk about the stages and processes of Descartes' methodic skepticism. Rene Descartes, 1650, introduced methodic skepticism as a means to doubt beliefs to ascertain indubitable truths. His process includes several stages. 1. Doubt of the senses. Descartes questions the reliability of senses, concluding they can't serve as a foundation of certainty. Descartes says, our senses sometimes deceive us, so we can't fully trust them. Example, when you see a mirage on a hot road, it looks like water, but it isn't. This shows senses can trick us. 2. The dream argument. He claims vivid dreams may render sensory experiences unreliable, raising doubts about immediate perceptions of reality. He questions if we can ever be sure we're not dreaming. Dreams can feel very real. Example, you dream that you're in school taking an exam, but when you wake up, you realize it was only a dream. If dreams can feel real, how do you know reality isn't also a dream? 3. The evil demon hypothesis. Descartes posits a deceiving entity challenging the trustworthiness of all knowledge, including mathematics. Descartes imagines a powerful deceiver like an evil demon who could trick him into believing false things, even things like math. Example, you think 2 plus 3 equals 5, but what if a deceiver is controlling your thoughts and making you believe it's true when it's not? 4. The Cogito. He asserts that the act of doubting confirms existence with I think, therefore I am as the first indisputable truth. Even if everything is false, one thing is certain. If you are doubting or thinking you must exist, example, if you ask yourself, do I exist? The fact that you're asking proves you do exist as a thinker. Number 5. Reconstruction of knowledge. Building on the Cogito, he affirms God's existence, differentiates between mind and body, and reinstates clear and distinct ideas as foundations for knowledge. After proving his own existence, Descartes reveals knowledge on this firm foundation. He argues for God's existence, distinguishes between the mind and body, and seeks clear, and certain truths. Example, starting with I exist, he builds further truths like my mind is different from my body and reason can guide me to truth. Next, Anulia Palihog. Cogito ergo sum, the enterprise of Cartesian epistemological certainty. Rene Descartes, 1596-1650, recognized as the father of modern philosophy, aimed to establish a reliable foundation for knowledge. Through methodic skepticism and his meditations on first philosophy, he eliminated uncertain beliefs to uncover to indubitable truth. Cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am. This statement is pivotal to Cartesian epistemology, serving as the foundational principle for reconstructing knowledge. Ergo sum, which means I think therefore I am. Descartes wanted to find a solid foundation for knowledge. He doubted everything, senses, dreams, even math, until he found one thing he could not doubt, the fact that he is thinking. This statement is the starting point to revealing all knowledge. How to explain this? Descartes said, even if I doubt everything, I cannot doubt that I am thinking right now. And if I am thinking, then I must exist. This is the first truth that cannot be denied from her. He started to build philosophy and knowledge with certainty. Imagine, you think, what if everything is fake, like a dream or the Matrix? Even if that were true, you cannot deny that you are the one asking the question. That means your mind at least really exists. Next. The birth of the Cogito. Descartes' critical doubt challenges the reliability of senses, the certainty of mathematics, and the potential of deception by an evil demon. However, he concludes that the act of doubting itself confirms the existence of a thinker, establishing the cogito as the foundation of thought and existence. The birth of Cogito, Descartes doubted everything, since math and even the possibility of being deceived by an evil demon. But he realized, if I am doubting, then I must exist as the one doing the doubting. This gave birth to the Cogito in I think therefore I am. It became the foundation of thoughts and existence. Example, if you ask, am I real? The very act of asking shows that you are real, at least as a thinker. Number 2. The Cogito as epistemological foundation. The Cogito articulated by Descartes is an indubitable truth, affirming the self's existence as a thinking entity. It serves as a foundation for Descartes' epistemology, enabling the development of further knowledge, including arguments for God's existence, the reliability of reason, and the distinction between mind and body. Thus, the Cogito is the critical starting point for deriving additional truth. The Cogito as epistemological foundation. The Cogito is the first certain truth. The self exists as a thinking being. Descartes used this as the starting point to rebuild knowledge. This truth, he developed further ideas, God's existence, the reliability of reason, the difference between mind and body, so that it is like the first building block for all other truths. Example, imagine building a house, you need a solid foundation first. The Cogito is like that foundation, it's the one thing you can't doubt, and from it, you cannot build everything else you believe. That's all my part. Thank you.
Good day, ma'am. I'm Janelle Valenzuela. My topic is number 3. The Cogito and Human Subjectivity. The Cogito signifies a pivotal change in the philosophy by positioning the thinking subject as a foundation for all knowledge. Descartes moves away from the traditional and external authority, establishing certainly through the autonomous self. This marked the philosophy beginning of modern, highlighting traditional and subjectivity, intellectually, autonomy, and personal respectively for true. So, ang Cogito ay example. Nag-iisip, sa makatwid, ako'y umiiral. So, si Descartes ay mahalaga dahil ginawa nitong basihan ng lahat ng kaalaman ng ating pag-iisip. Sa pananaw na ito, nagsimula ang modernong filosofiya kung saan naging sentro ang sarili at ang ating kakayahang mag-isip ng may pananagutan sa paghahanap ng katotohanan. Number 4. Ethical and existential implication. Descartes Cogito emphasized the dignity and freedom of the human mind, asserting that one's existence as a thinker remains a certain despite deception or external authority. This insight carries ethical implication as it posits that true freedom is grounded in the traditional self, which is underpins through the moral responsibility. So, idinidiin ng Cogito na si Descartes ay dinidiin at kalayaan ng tao dahil ang ating pag-iisip ang nagpapatunay na tayo ay umiiral kahit pa may manlilin lang. Dahil nakabatay ang tunay na kalayaan sa ating rasyonal na sarili. Nagbibigay ito ng moral na pananagutan sa atin para maging totoo at makatwid. Example, dahil ikaw ay nag-iisip, ikaw ay malayang pumili at mananagot sa iyong mga desisyon tulad ng pagpili ng tama sa halip na mali. Next na. The three section Metaphysico, Epistemological Problematics. Rene Descartes, 1596 to 1650, laid the foundation of modern philosophy by grouping certainly in the thinking self. Cogito ergo sum, yet his metaphysical and epistemological system give rise to the three major problematics that have shaped philosophy by ever since. These concern the relationship between the mind and the body, the debate over the dualism versus non-dualism, and the possibility of interaction between distract and substance. So, sa Rene Descartes ang nagtatag ng modernong filosofiya sa pamamagitan ng paggawa niyang tiyak ang pagkakaroon ng sariling pag-iisip. However, nagdudulot din ng kanyang sistema ang tatlong malaking problema ang nag-uugnay ng isip at katawan ng dualism at kung paano nag-interact ang dalawang magkaibang substance na ito. Ako. Thank you.
Good day everyone. My name is Amelia Valenzuela. Today I'm gonna discuss with you the body and mind problem. This problem originates from Descartes' distinction between the immortal mind, res cogentes, and the material body, res essentiae. This central issue is the relationship between them, particularly how an immature thought can lead to a physical action or such as raise and arms. This dilemma continues to shape discussion to the philosophy of mind, particularly regarding free will and personal idea. Ang mind and body problem nagsugod kini gikan sa idea ni Rene Descartes nga adunay daw kuno duha ka klaseng nga butang like nan immortal mind reading mao ang atong hunahuna kalag o potensya dili kini makita o mahikap. Ang material body or res essentiae mao ang atong physical nga lawas nga makita o mabati. Ang mga pangutana, ang pagunan nga mga isyu mao ang unsaon pag-uban sa pagtinabangay sa duha. Pananglitan, kung magunahuna ka nga gusto nimo itaas ang imong kamot, unsaon pagbalhin sa imong walay kalibutan nga nahuna ngadto sa pisikal nga lihok. O kan sida inigyapon na hangtod ko man inigyap na pangutana gihisgutan gyapon sa filosofiya labi na sa mga issue naay kalabutan like sa like sa free will kita ba gayud ang nagkontrol sa atong lihok o sa ato sa pagbutang sa personal idea unsaon kubit kung kato sa the personal idea unsaon paghubit kung kinsa ta kung ang hunahuna og lawas na lain sa simple nga pagsabot ang mind and problem kay pagkutana kung unsaon pagkonektar sa nahuna nga dili makita o sa lawas nga pisikal o nganong ang importante kini sa pagsabot sa atong pagkatao. Next. Number 2, Taoism versus non-Taoism. Taoism sentient view. Descartes defined substance. Taoism that mind and body are two distinct substances with different essences. And mind thinking ang Taoism ni si Rene Descartes nagtuo siya sa gitawag nga substance Taoism na nagaingon nga kuna-kuna og lawas kay duha ka lain nga klase sa butang like and mind nagunahuna dili physical dili bahin og ang body physical og makita og mabahati og mahawirat sa Taoism ang duha dunay lain-laing insense o kinaya. Pero kinahanglan magtinabangay aron makabuhat taog lihok o makasinati o magsinati basta. Okay, ang sa non-dualism. Centralized argue from monism, which hold that only one kind of substance exists, either only matter as the materialist system, or only mind and only mind as an idealism. So ang non-intelligent daw, ang mga ang dualism daw, ang mga kuan daw ni panipagkuan critical sa dualism. Nagtuo sa mga monis na nagaingon na usa ra gayud ka klase sa butang anti-tinuod nga nag-exist sa non-dualism. So, ang non-dualism usa ra ka realidad lawas o hunahuna. Kini daw na debate importante sa filosofiya tungkol kay nakatabang ini sa pagsabot kung unsaon gayud unsa tagayod mag-isip usa ka tao o unsaon nato pagsabot sa atong hunahuna lawas o kalibutan. Next. Interactionism versus non-interactionism. Interactionism purposes that pronomia result from the casual interaction between two or more distant components like mind and body or social factor and individual traits, while the non-interactionism denies such casual interplay view pronomia as the ether determined by a single component or separated entities that do not influence each other. The key difference lies with whether distant elements are seen as immaterial consecutive or as independent. So, ang interactionism nag-ingon nga ang mga panghitabo o butang na nahitabo tungod kay na nagbinagluay o nagtinabangay ang duha og lawas pananglitan ang mga bahin, pananglitan ang hunahuna og lawas kung unsay gibati sa hunahuna makaapekto sa lawas o kung unsay mahitabo sa lawas makaapekto usab sa hunahuna. Pwede po kini sa social nga factor o personal traits. Pareha sila nga impluwensyahan sa usa-usa aron makahimo og usa ka panghitabo o resulta. Ang sa lain nga bahin ang non-interactionism nag-ingon nga walay interaction ang mga bahin. Ang usa ra ka bahin ang responsibilidad sa paghitabo o duha ka bahin nga naglungtad pero wala magtinabangay o mag-impluwensyahay. Pananglitan kung nga ang mga nahuna ara ang nagkontrol sa tanan ug walay labot sa lawas. Ang mga non-interactionism nga ang iyang pananaw. So, dinhira natapos na ako part sa report.
Hello everyone, I am Elisabeth Barnieri, and now we're going to talk now about Cartesianism and inspiration to the essence of human freedom. Rene Descartes, 1596-1550, considered the founder of modern philosophy, established Cartesianism, which is based on Platonic doubt. The certainty of the Cogito, I think, therefore I am, and the differentiation between mind, cogitant, and body, resistenta. Beyond metaphysics and epistemology, Descartes' philosophy has significant ethical implications linking human dignity to moral responsibility and asserting that the ethics of freedom arise from the interplay of reason, will, and truth. So, Rene Descartes is the founder of modern philosophy. He also the founder of Cartesianism. He established Cogito ergo sum, or I think, therefore I am, that means certainty of the self as a thinking being. To differentiate the cogitant or mind and the resistenta body or the body. So the mind is rational trace while the body follow physical law. There are also ethical implications that human dignity comes from the mind's ability to think and choose. So ang human dignity daw ay lagitan sa mind ability ng magpili o mag-isip. And the freedom is not doing whatever we want. It is using reason and will to act responsibly. Ang freedom daw ay dili kung atong buhaton kung ano ay atong gusto. It is using our reason and to act responsibly. We are truly free when we act rationally and responsibly. Sunod na, Cogito on the ground of freedom. The Cogito establishes the certainty of the thinking self. By realizing that one exists as a rational subject, the individual gains awareness of autonomy. So the Cogito establishes the certainty of the thinking self. So, when we realize that one is a rational subject, the individual gain awareness about the autonomy of a human. That we have the opportunity to think, reason, and decide what makes us free and ultimately that the origin of freedom is not just physical bodies, but rational subjects capable of making choices. This awareness grounds human dignity. Freedom belongs to the rational mind, not merely to the body or external authority. When we realize that freedom comes from our rational mind, we also understand human dignity. Ethical implications. A truly personal class entails manufactured in return are still external control but guided by research. Ethically, this true freedom is not about following every desire or controlled or being controlled by outside forces, but about acting according to reason and truth. Ganun. Number 2. Mind, body, dualism, and moral responsibilities. Descartes' dualism separates the immaterial mind from the mechanical body, while the body follows lateral law, the mind or soul possesses free will. So, the functions of body desire, appetite, emotion, and cloud judgment, but the rational mind has the power to regulate them. Ethical implication, human freedom requires responsibility, mastery of functions through rational self. So, Descartes argued that the mind and the body are two different substances. The body is physical and follow natural law, while mind or soul is immaterial and free. And because of this, even though the body feels like passion, desire, emotion, and appetite, the rational mind has the power to control and regulate them. Example, minsan gusto na niyo matulog, pero ang iyong maisip, gusto pa laag-laag, dili ako na ay they have the power to control and regulate their body. Ethical implication, human freedom requires responsibility, mastery factors, and rational self. So, freedom is equal responsibility. To be truly free, we must master passion and guide action with great truth. Moral responsibility comes from using our mind to govern our body and senses. To truly freedom, we must intentional for our actions.
Ethics in everyday life. Ethics in everyday life are the moral principles that guide your decisions and actions towards fairness, honesty, and the common good, influencing personal relationships, work, and social interactions. Applying ethics involves practicing virtues like integrity and kindness, keeping commitments, being respectful and helpful, and acting in ways that create positive impacts and prevent harm. These principles provide a framework prevent harm. Framework for making sound choices, even when faced with pressure or complex situations, and contribute to building a better society. That's all. That concludes our report. Thank you.